The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. I am Barnzy, as usual, joined by the inimitable Stuart Williams. Beef stew. How are you today? I'm looking forward to today's topic. Coming in hot already.
What's going on, Okies?
We were discussing right before the show. If you were a Sooners fan who came down to Dallas to the old Cotton Bowl to watch that game and then stuck around for the Lions Cowboys, you had a rough weekend.
I think it was like, what was it, like 85-12 or something?
Yeah, it didn't involve a kicker. You didn't have a point.
Unlucky. All right. Yeah, he says, shit, Beef, but I realized you were doing some bowl reviews, wanting to some practice. I'd have hooked you up better than I did yesterday. Let me know. Yeah, no worries. I know we had a bit of a miscommunication. One of the kids helped, and I was trying to do some ball comparisons or whatever, and I wanted something kind of medium-ish. And we got the flat US Open. So I got an hour and a half practice session rather than a recording session, because there would have been much more on the cutting room floor than there would have been getting into the videos. I've actually got a picture here. I'll call out my frames. Now, bearing in mind, I was just re-racking every frame, so I wasn't shooting spares, but here we go. Miss 8, and then it's dash, which just means I didn't make the spare. It means I got 8 or less. 8 dash, again, 8 or less. Strike, 9 spare, so that means I got a strike. Strike, so I got 2 strikes in a row. Miss 9, 6, spare, which meant I got a strike. Strike, miss, spare, which meant I got the strike. So, yeah. Good times.
Man.
And for all those people who tell you, oh, well, you can see what the balls do differently on a flat pattern. No, you can't. They all look fucking awful.
Yeah, when you get to 1-to-1, you can tell, they can separate on, they really separate best on like 3 to 4-to-1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like on
shape to play off of, so you can see where they hook, where they don't hook. Because on flat, it is one of the biggest misnomers, because it's not really all about equipment when you go bowl the US Open. It's sort of, like which one gets the longest, but basically you're trying to eliminate shape for the most part, most of the time.
Yeah, it's not that much fun. Somebody said, how is league going? Not bad. I shot 743 last night. Hasn't really been a stellar league season so far. I had a rough week last week. But 743, I had the front 9 followed by 710, so that was a kick square in the pills. But yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Last night, I put up about 660 last night, and was among the top in the running for the series for the night with Dio bowling, which is that's not good. Yeah. So I was averaging about 258 or so in that league. Not now, which you knew was never going to last there.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends. Yep. Cheers.
Got a bunch of regionals around. PBA 50 regional in our area in Hot Springs. Clint Dacey with his first victory that I can remember. I would never take your equipment to your truck for you. We both know that is just a bold place lie. So.
Oh shit!
I loaded mine into my SUV because I'm not compensating for anything. So I don't need a big truck.
Okay.
Ryan Bull, the Nightmare Double.
I'm compensating for my lack of ability, so I need more space.
But that doesn't track, because if you can afford a truck, you're rolling well enough to have a truck.
or you have a wife that lets you live the life that you would enjoy. Thanks, T.
Yeah, mine just doesn't love me, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Ryan Bold Nightmare Doubles. That did the same thing. It's on the 15-1 house shot, and I saw Anthony Lavery last night, and he said 23 teams made the finals that cashed. Out of those 46 players, there was 12 right-handers. So buckle up.
Yeah, that's kind of odd, because there was a lot of right-handers in the fight. I don't think there was many. There was two. The top 8. There was a lefty on each team, but there was a righty on almost every team except
there was
the team.
Seven out of the 16 were right-in, but the guys were left were mostly good players, of course, too.
Yeah. I like I say, I looked at it, and of course, once you see the two lefties winning by miles, you're like, oh my god, it's ridiculous. But then it was two righties who were second, I think.
No.
Isn't Sydney right-handed?
No. Definitely not.
Oh, okay. I thought he was right-handed.
He's on JJ's all lefty China team with Jean Perez and
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Jared Thompson and AJ Rice won. Nate Garcia and Sydney, I'd never seen him before, were second. Who was John Perez and Nate Garcia were third.
No, Nate was second. It was Brad Miller.
Brad Miller and John Perez.
Yeah.
And Ryan Bull with Cam Crow. Michael Holloman was bowling with Sean Lavery.
Mm-hmm.
Two lefties that I did not know at the bottom, and the two righties were right above them. There's one team with two righties on it. Jaden Mosley.
Jalen Mosley. Yeah.
Jalen Mosley and his partner.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get on to more important things. Who's the most clutch ever? We're going full sports radio here, so we need people to come in. What defines clutch? It's clutch is in the eye of the beholder, as you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess anything that feels important to you, I guess more importantly the fan than the player. But I think the players count anything clutch is like any shot that basically raises your adrenaline. Becomes that's a more important shot than anything else. So, I think it's elimination rounds, clutch in the TV finals. I think all those things kind of count, because if you're not good in the elimination rounds, you don't make the finals.
Yeah, I mean,
a misnomer.
There's a lot. Like a lot of people are firing in. Albie, that was a good one. Doubled every time he needed it.
According to Baker, in his era, he said if I had to pick one guy to throw it, he was my guy.
I was about to say, I do happen to have a theory on lefties being clutch. They don't tend to make it bowling their B game. And most people, when they feel comfortable about what they're doing, tend to get pretty close to throwing a strike. The time that it goes a bit wrong, and I don't want to pick on him, but I'm going to use this as an example because he's lauded as being Mr. Clutch, is have a look back at Tommy Jones trying to win the TOC. Like, he didn't feel comfortable in what he was doing, made a move, which in hindsight, I think if I asked him now, would you have moved 2 with urethane? He'd have been like, are you out of your fucking mind? Which is what pretty much all of us thought when he said it out loud, but he washed out because he was afraid of it going through the face all the time. And he kind of he went into his, I guess, Chris Vialli moment, which is what do you do every time you're under pressure? Well, I move 2 left and I just throw it better. Well, when you're throwing a reactive ball, By throwing it better, Vialli meant grab the shit out of it. But
Yeah.
like guys who hit it hard, that makes sense for them. Doesn't make sense when you're using a urethane ball because it just isn't going to hook that much more. So I do want to preface that. And then there's another example here. Randy Peterson on TV. Yes, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But
his winning percentage, like he won 13 times, I think it was, in like 28 shows.
yeah. And then
that's an insane number.
And also, when you look at that, though, it's really hard because bowling isn't as big as baseball or basketball or whatever. Because you could have 7 or 8 titles without ever really winning one in the 10th frame. And you could also have it where you've won 7 or 8 titles and you go back and you look and the scores are close, but it had nothing to do with you. Like, for example, like history will make it look like, you know, Marshall and Simo had a really close match in the TOC. Marshall had that in hand, didn't do what he was supposed to in the 10th frame, and then Simo threw 2 great shots and just didn't get the strike. So it just goes in waves. I mean, like, and it's the same with like making the cut. Like sometimes you just go through. I went through probably about 2 years where I was 8th and the cut was 8. And then you go through 9 months where you're 9th and the cut's 8. It's just that stuff goes up and down. But yeah, Danny Wiseman is another one who bowled really well on TV when he made it.
Yeah, early on he was really, you know, what Sean was too. He won his first 4 times on TV, and then he started making it more, and then it evened out. But
somebody says Duke. Yes, I mean,
yeah. During my best run, Norm was great under the gun. But if you talk to him privately, he had waves where it went both ways.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
And I think that
I 100% buy into that. When you're feeling good and you're getting to do something that you like to do, you know, because, I mean, like this guy, you know, Pete was very unique in what he did. It's tons of axis rotation, and no one else really threw it like that. Early in his career, he was one of the most powerful releases on tour. Late in his career, he was one of the softest releases on tour. But that axis rotation meant he didn't bowl great week to week always, because the wrong weeks would go sideways. But when he was on there, he was pretty good for throwing it in the direction he needed to when he needed to.
I also think that all these things are like very much the narrative that you believe.
Yeah.
Like if you've watched me bowl on TV, you would believe that Chris is the most clutch person on earth because he strikes out against me every time. So, I mean, it like, you know, if you ask all the guys in the paddock, you'll be like, you know, one guy will say, they'll just pick up some totally random person and be like, oh, that guy, he always strikes out in the 10th frame to beat me in match play.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
everybody seems to have a guy.
Huh? Everybody has a guy. Yeah.
Everybody has a guy.
And
Nick Devaney, I never beat him in a match, I don't think.
But like you talk to like a lot of the older guys, they'll say, like, how many times would Walter Ray ever not throw a strike almost the whole game? And then you open, then he goes, oh, okay, cool, throw a double to beat you. It was like every time. It was like just ridiculous. So those things are always fun. I mean, I think it's more fun to talk about people who haven't got like 50 titles. Because, I mean, Walter Ray is always going to be clutch, isn't he? I mean, like, you've won 47 times, and what's he won? Like 120 PBA titles. Imagine how many times he's thrown a strike when he needed it. Just like put that in perspective. Like, how many times he's needed a strike and thrown a strike. But conversely, I bet he's missed quite a few times as well.
Yeah, you get the Jordan LeBron thing of, wow, they've missed X amount of times. Well, of course, because they've taken more shots in that situation than anyone.
And it's all about publicity. This clutch is always all about publicity. Everybody would have you believe that Kobe is way more clutch than LeBron. Kobe has one of the worst, or had one of the worst, completion percentages of success rates in throwing up the last shot of anybody ever. But everybody liked him, so they wanted it to be so. Oh, Kobe's the man. Remember that one? And it's like, yeah, but you're not remembering the 17 in between that he didn't get, like, type of deal. So, yeah, it's always fun. So you put in the chat who you guys think, and we'll chat about it. There's a guy in the chat who I think is extremely clutch. Where is he? My man Dick Allen.
Yeah, he's actually sent me a link.
Bobby Jack.
It's actually got kind of a all-time wins, finalists, and then top fives.
Yeah, but that's
it's
just
somewhat informative. It's not, but
I just really mean it like
just 39 out of 59 in the title match. That's a great percentage.
Who was that?
Anything better than 50 is pretty fantastic. Parker's just better than 50%. Roth was.
Who was the first person you said?
Duke was 39 out of 59.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think Walter Ray's about 50%, isn't he?
47 for 95, just under 50. Same as Earl, 42 out of 85.
Yeah.
Now Walter made 195 top fives.
How many did you make?
102.
102, but that's top fives. You had quite a few like TV shows extra in that, didn't you? In like the 8-man era and stuff.
Probably a few. Yeah. And I don't know if I won some matches, which a lot of times I won the first match or two, and then got into the top 5 per se, for historical purposes. But like Wayne Webb, 20 out of 36.
Okay, I've got a new fun game. I've got a new fun game, right? Everybody in the chat can write out a player on tour, right? In the chat. And you write the guy's name, and me and Chris have to say, would we feel comfortable sitting there with our life with our life in their hands? It's a new game.
It's been the league has made things very interesting because it's shown a little bit, like somebody put up Jesper. I think Jesper's really good in that situation. Jesper doesn't love bull and anchor, though. I don't really.
Did in the Weber Cup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he has the stone cold nuts, but you guys made him do it too. It wasn't exactly a choice.
But what I'm saying is like he just feels more. He just felt more comfortable in that environment, I think. Glenn with the super chat, he says, "We'll have to listen to you later because I'm teaching now. Have a great day." Well, thanks, Glenn. Appreciate the tip. Have a nice day. All right. So we got a few names piling in. This has worked out quite well, right? All right, I think we can go through these pretty quick. Nick Pate, couldn't keep her on the island. I'm not even sure I'd back him to get one to save me. And me and Nick aren't exactly buddies, so.
You did get the one of us chant in Maine.
Well, it's like who? Sorry,
he got the one of us chant in Maine when he threw in the gutter.
Marshall Kent. Not sure he'd be high on my list. Balmo at the PBA League.
Ooh.
Oh God, this is.
These guys are coming in hot.
Darren Tang. It depends. If he's throwing his pitch black, yes. If he's throwing anything but the pitch black, no. That's what I'm going with that one. We've already had a Marshall Kent. We got a Simo. I would feel comfortable that my life was relatively safe.
As a Weber Cup captain, he was a guy that I was pretty comfortable with. He was your best chance in that situation.
If we're in Portland, Maine, absolutely, because he strikes every shot. Might have the highest strike percentage in PBA League history.
I feel really good about her hitting the pocket. In her day,
she was a killer.
She was a killer, and she threw a lot of good ones when it mattered.
Okay. Arturo, I mean, you might have to take a few deep breaths. I just think it would be such a stressful time because Arturo would be having an internal argument with himself on the approach, screaming "Vamos" and "Mi casa." Tommy Jones has a high win percentage on TV. He does.
Yeah, Tommy is 68 shows, 17 wins, which is pretty. That's right at 1-4, which is kind of that's around what the best guys did. And he was 17 for 26 in the title match.
So pretty good in the title match.
Yep, if he could get to it, he was.
I think
he hasn't been there very much. It's kind of hard to say.
I think Chris's problem with this one is he doesn't know whether he wants to save him or not. Whether AJ is in it for you. Packy seems like that would be an okay chance, I think.
Yeah, this is a guy who most people probably wouldn't consider as that. And he's taken an unusual route. Most guys have been the best at one point in their life, previously.
Yeah.
Most guys are pretty confident because they were good when they were young and they won a lot. And they did. Packy didn't do any of that. Started late, didn't bowl a lot at Wichita, got his card, jumped in the deep end of the pool, and now has made himself into. And he was our best anchor guy in the league.
Steve Cook. Well, if there was a fight in the bowling center, I definitely want Steve Cook on my side. Biggest guy in there.
Yeah,
I never saw Steve bowl really, so it's hard.
I just watched him on TV. I think he had a pretty good reputation for being a fisher.
This was more a fun game of the people we're bowling with now, to be honest.
Yeah, Verbals and Don Johnson, which by all accounts was one of the best in the situation. Again, I didn't watch him on radio.
It almost might have been more fun to say, out of the people with 20 titles, who's the least clutch? Because, I mean, obviously, if you've won that much, like, it's not really insulting to be, oh, you're the least clutch person with 20 titles. Like, do you see how I'd cut it off at 20, not 19?
Yeah, I did.
Because these nasty people out there, Chris.
Yeah. Just saving me from the fans.
Hey,
again, I think this is we've seen him on some runs where you're like, oh boy, he's comfortable, and then he got fantastic on TV for a while. But we've seen him on the other side of it too. I just think it ebbs and flows. He's making shows where he wasn't at his best, and when you're not at your best under a clutch, under those situations, I don't think it turns out that great.
The PBA league doesn't work out well for Belmo. They're waiting in between. I genuinely think that the guys who have bowled some in college, I think it's a little overplayed. I think it's the guys who have bowled in college who have bowled on TV in college a couple of times. I think the Weber Cup gave us a huge advantage in like being used to needing to throw a good shot when you haven't bowled for about an hour. Like, I mean, I remember warming up in Manchester. I don't think you bowled that one, Chris, but we were warming up in Manchester, throwing it across the carpet, and the bone kids jumping over the balls.
That was my first one back.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you bowled
with
that
the
one. I thought
lane
that was
surface with the hippity hoppity lane surface.
No. That was a different one. No.
Before that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't bowl this one in Manchester. So, yeah, because I think Parker was the captain and he arrived the day that we started. And, it was kind of interesting. But either way, we were warming up on the carpet, like throwing it across like we were in a convention center is way over the top for England. It was like a leisure center type thing, but it had a huge room that had the lanes in it. So, yeah, I think that definitely makes it a little easier. You're a little more used to it.
Well, I think that catapulted Kyle. There's no doubt that basically in the Weber Cup, you get to bowl maybe 10 to 12 matches each player.
Yeah.
On TV in an in a TV environment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no doubt that Kyle, when he first went there, hadn't really made but a couple of shows.
Yeah.
And he got comfortable way quicker than other guys did. I think it's been a huge advantage to be able to go over there and play in that situation, and it feels relatively normal.
It definitely has made it easier for me in the PBA league.
Yeah, TV becomes it. The distracting things become less distracting. Can't forget Walter and Earl. Yeah, I agree. You don't win 40 titles without striking when you need to. And
Cooley's a strange one because when he bowls on shorter stuff and he's super aggressive, then yes, all day. Because I don't think it ever feels like he's going to miss the pocket. I think when he has to be a little bit more gentle to it, I don't think it's as good for Cooley. But
somebody beat him in a roll off in one of those kind of shortish patterns. Can't remember earlier this year. Oh yeah, that was me.
PA, yeah, he loved it. But if you listen to PA, couldn't pry it off, Mop.
Couldn't pry it off, Mop. Terrible, terrible. Oh.
Horrible, Mop. Horrible.
It's what? Did I miss an episode? What are we doing here?
That might have been my fault when you weren't here for like 10 episodes in a row. Oh dear. Right. We've managed to get this far, even though we started talking about it immediately. Snowman doubles is at Fire Lake Bowling Center, which is right there. Snowman doubles is on 3rd to 5th of January. It's one of the funnest tournaments of the year, up in Shawnee, Oklahoma, the birthplace of Brad Pitt. Not the bowling center, just the city. But yeah, they still have spots left. So if you go on to Facebook and search for Snowman Doubles, if you have any trouble, just hit me or Chris up and we will direct you in the right direction. They are taking deposits. Like I say, it's one of the fun tournaments of the year.
It fills every year too. So
you don't need a lefty. You don't need a two-hander. You just need a spare ball. Like I say, fun tournament.
There hasn't been a need or a style per se that dominates. It's for sure.
Yeah, very fun tournament. Pretty good prize money. Skilling's put some extra money in, especially in the Calcutta. So check that out. If you need any more details, just hit us up. Andrew Anderson, well, currently, yes. My man was striking out. One of the most impressive runs in the PBA league I think I've ever seen. Yeah. Wow. Cam Crow. I don't know. Did he go lead off with Ryan or did he go anchor?
He was anchor. Well, I mean, they were 600 over in qualifying and Cam was 400 over of it.
Yeah.
So, but
I think that was about the normal ratio, right to left.
Pretty much. It was, yeah. I mean, once the Baker thing happened, it evened out a little bit.
Travis says he's pretty clutch between 3 and 6 beers.
No more. No.
Said Jens Nickel. Mr. World Cup. No, I don't think he won the World Cup. I think that was the other guy, Christian Nokel. I'm the most clutch ever at chopping the 3-6-10. Bet you not if I put $20 on you chopping it. Brad Miller. I'm not sure Brad would be top of my tree.
No.
He wouldn't be first.
No, his TV so far would belie that.
The problem is though
he is going much better again lately.
For normal people, they just don't have enough qualifying. It's so hard to make TV for like most normal people. Like what EJ and Simo and Chris in his day and Belmo and like what those guys do, that's not normal. Like making like 10 TV shows in the space of like 13 months. That's not what people do. So yeah, it's very much not.
John Rash on the short shot clock.
I actually think I like Sean more on the short shot clock. I think once he starts thinking about it, that's when it starts to go more wrong.
Yeah, it just kind of that is one of the things about Randy Peterson. He got up and he went. There was no waiting. There was no messing around. He was a good athlete, and I think he just relied on the fact that he was a good athlete. And,
Dom, same.
Yeah.
Might take a while before he stands up on the approach, but as soon as he stands up on the approach, it's one deep breath and gone.
Yeah. And over time, I got faster as well because, you know, the voices got louder the longer you stood there.
Yeah. I mean, I stood with Brian Voss, and Brian Voss said, I've seen one good bowler who took a long time. And by his standard of good bowler, let's factor that in.
A little elitist, but yeah.
He said that was PA. He said he's the only person I've ever seen who takes ages who ends up doing well. He goes, the longer I stand there, the more shit that enters my head.
Yeah. And that's just, you know, and I joke about the voices, but it's really just, you have more time to notice other stuff. And so, you know, and that is one thing got quicker over time and probably played out a little bit better over time.
Prime Timmy Mack. If there was $100,000 Sing dollar on the line, he was pretty good at doing that.
I doubt if anyone was actually, you know, got to watch him. But as I was going through that list that Richie sent over, 28 title matches, 20 wins.
Imagine you had that percentage.
Jesus. Well, Belmo would still be chasing me.
Oh shit. Oh god.
20 out of 28 is that's pretty salty.
Pretty strong.
Woo. Yeah. Me and Roth be hanging out there about 35 titles. Yeah, that's wild.
Walter Ray, imagine how many you have.
My favorite Walter Ray stat.
Walter Ray have like 75 titles.
It's 20 out of 28. So almost it's about 70%. Walter would have like 65 titles with that win percentage. So, I mean, it's not a completely accurate list, but it's pretty up to date, looks like. I mean, Voss was 50% in the finals. Holman was 22 out of 53. Amleto was just under 50%. EJ is right, just over 50%, 21 out of 41. Belmo is 30 out of 50.
See, that's misleading, though. That's very misleading because EJ's not 21 out of 41. Because EJ's got 4 doubles titles, like at least 3 Lucy titles. There wasn't a title match for that.
And like 5 extra frame titles that weren't on TV.
Yeah, but I'm not even saying that. I'm saying he's won tournaments that didn't even have finals.
Yeah, there's 7 of those titles weren't actually finals.
Well, the doubles, they do bowl at a final for the doubles. I'm saying like the Lucy just didn't have a finals at all. You just bowl the round robin and stop.
Right.
So it's like that. I understand that there's probably a couple in there. I'm just saying that like that's fairly misleading. Like, for some of it, and maybe I'm just picking on him, and everybody's got that. I just know that for him is like, just because he always laughs about the fact that he's going to be the first person in the extra frame Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the first guy to 10 titles, and it doesn't even exist anymore.
I was about to say, Belmo might have said, I haven't even bowled 10 tournaments that were only on extra frame.
They've already closed it. It's just done. Yeah, the extra frame, it's a Hall of Fame of 1.
Well, he was a man. Wouldn't have put him in the category, but swinging big dick definitely came through when he needed it for all the marbles. Possibly in a situation that was even more fraught than actually just winning a tournament. Sloan, the back 5 or 6 to make it. So through the tour trials.
Yeah, that's probably in that situation is as tough a situation as it for a title, no title, whatever. You probably won't run to one that means more. Basically, keep your life.
Literally, the only time I can think about it where there was a situation was it was pretty publicized, but the Tom Baker thing when he won the World Championships, when he won, like
stay exempt.
Yes, and he got a 5-year exemption or whatever. That's about the only time I can think of something in quite that. And I'm sure there's been like multiple times at the tour trials where somebody's done what they needed in the 10th frame, but yeah. Hey,
Dougie
Gene.
Fresh.
Yeah.
I think it's a qualifier. He threw it good for the several people brought up Schaefer. And I do think that despite what his TV or majors record is, his issues weren't really 10th frames. And I will make an excuse that he's never made for himself that I'm aware of, but haven't got to know the diabetic thing and what adrenaline does to your blood sugar level. And it seems like on TV there was always at least one shot that just like would fall off his hand. And now having walked through it with Troy a little bit and what it does to the size of your hands as your adrenaline moves up and down and your blood sugar with it. Not all of those issues were anything he could do a ton about.
Mm-hmm. Frankie, yeah. Frankie is one of the last people who, when I'm playing, I want to have a chance to beat me. He seems to more often than not find that double he needs. He also, Frankie has the ability to not let the outside bullshit affect him while bowling. Especially in matches, does really well. I tell you one person who's really good, especially when he was at his peak in that type of format, in those short race formats where you got a lot of shots to mat, was Oscar. Oscar did really well in a lot of those best of 3 tournaments. Like, you know, like we in Europe, in Japan a couple of times, he did pretty well. He won the big World Bowling Tour tournament in Japan for like 60 or 70,000. Yeah, Oscar had a really big run where like counting pins wasn't really his friend. He'd really like looking the guy he was playing in the eyes. And yeah, he did really well in those formats for a long time. Somebody said Janovitz.
Jeremy Sonnenfeld in college.
And that's the thing. There'll be guys who you go back and you just like, I mean, there's probably a guy in league who always manages to strike out to beat your team. And that's what this is fun for. I wanted people calling out like randoms like, oh, Mike Newman or whoever, you know, like, you know, or Brian Kretzer. I bet Kretzer was pretty clutch back in the day when he was bowling all the high rollers and stuff. And like, and then you bowl some of those bracket tournaments where that guy always gets the double in the 10th to make sure he shoots 279, not 258 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, it used to be judged. And this guy is a guy that may not make it a lot of lists on the pro side of it, but he would bowl any action match, you know. And so is clutch always striking? Is it clutch not being afraid to bowl those matches and winning them more often than losing them? Is it, you know, Joe Vito?
Yes.
As I was growing up, that's a guy who universally around here is considered good for the money all the time. Gary Dickinson before him.
Yeah, and then like I was telling you a little earlier, it's all about publicity. So Del Ballard is most remembered for throwing it in the gutter.
Oh,
and it sucks because he won the US Open twice.
The part that they don't remember is the very next week he won.
Yes,
he took the worst moment that pretty much anyone on tour ever had to live through.
Mm-hmm.
Just went and gave you the bird and went out and won the next week.
Yeah,
but all anybody, bowlers are bowlers. They want to pound him for, they still throw a short pattern. They call it Ballard because you're playing near the gutter, and it's the most disrespectful to a guy who was. Talk about a guy who had the clutch gene.
Yeah,
yeah. The irony sometimes is a cruel mistress in bowling. What he's known for is exactly the opposite of what everyone that bowled against him thinks.
There you go. Adam's got you back. You're clutch too, Chris Barnes.
There we go.
Adam's your guy. Yeah, we got a few of the same.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Amika was actually also a guy who had some really great moments, throwing some really great shots for it, and has had a couple of flip sides. And that's the thing about making a lot of TV shows is everybody gets to see the other side too, because nobody strikes all the time. I mean, ironically, some of Pete's best wins and the drama involved him basically the 1 year when the Microsoft guys came over, he only made 3 shows that year, but he won all 3 times. And all 3 times he either struck in the 10th or the one time, I think it was Bowker, he got 5 through the middle when he needed a mark and then made the 5 count spare to win. So it turned into he threw it terrible on the money shot and then made it good on the backside. So it ended up being more drama instead of less.
Somebody just asked me what's the weirdest spare you've ever made, and I was just about to find it because I made it.
The Man in Motion.
I made it on the show where Chris struck to beat me. It was against Belmo, and I believe it was the 1, 4, 5, 7, 8.
1, 4, 5, 7, 8. There you go. They were a little funky on that show.
Yeah, I missed the head pin pretty much once a game, every game of that tournament. I had a hitch in my swing, but it didn't really matter because every time I lined my swing up, it felt like I struck. But it got to the point where it was like really annoying because it was like, oh, that one's gone. And yeah, I knew where to shoot the washout in the 1, 2, 4 for there.
Here's somebody throwing his own number up,
That's what I was saying. I've already mentioned you, Richie.
Yeah.
Dickie.
It was exactly why Baker was such a fan of drafting it back the very first time. He's like, guy always throws a good when he needs it. Okay.
I want to put up a theory that Balmo's team is cursed in the PBA League because Dick went anchor for us 1 year in the PBA League. Hadn't had an open in his PBA League history. Needed a spare the first match we bowled to win. Left the 10 pin and missed it. And Balmo goes, "You're going to be fucking kidding me." He turns to me. It's like, he's just like, what's going on? He wasn't like pissed at Dick. He was just like pissed at the whole situation. Like, what the fuck? Now, Sherman didn't end up beating us. And Richie turns to us and goes, "I've never had an open before." And Balmo goes, "Great timing." It was just like, nobody was even like slightly angry about the situation because nobody ever gets like pissed off with the other guy. Like when you bowl in team, you don't get like pissed with them. You're just like, you got to be kidding me. Why did this have to happen now? Because like nobody misses on purpose. But yeah, that was funny, and that's when I decided to realize that our team was cursed. It didn't matter who was anchor.
Yeah, Kretzer, clutch, especially Megabucks. The funny story, at least one of those was one with a Brooklyn. So, yeah, I mean, he threw a lot of great shots, no doubt about it, and he won some big ones. Newman was a guy who was good for it. I mean, the general theory there for a while was that you either had to have a couple of pops in you or more to bowl in the high roller back in the 90s for a while. Didn't seem like there was too many guys that didn't have one or the other.
Oh dear, good old Dak. Somebody said we should have a show dedicated to the most versatile, but it would be like 3 minutes. It'd be like, yep, Simo. Okay, see you on Tuesday.
You're not sorry. This and you earned it. I'm sorry, I just didn't get far enough down the list to get to you. I'm sorry. That's the thing you said to me. I'd have got there eventually.
Such a bitch.
He's earned it. Now you get down there, so yeah.
Now talk about performing when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Is it clutch? Is it clutch to win by 100?
Yeah. I did find that there's some the closing interviews at Nightmare, and AJ Rice was thanking his significant other about keeping his head in it, and lots of ups and downs on the weekend and that. And I found it very interesting as they led by 250 after qualifying.
And his partner bowled 470 over.
Yeah, well, he was 400. It wasn't.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that
they lapped both sides of the field all the way around, and like ups and downs. Like, huh? You were doing a victory lap for an entire day. No one got within 250 pins at any point on Sunday.
You wanted to.
If that was stressful, you are right. Keep your hat on. Keep on amateur tournaments, because wow, like they dominated. That is the good. You just watch and you're like, yeah, Jared Thompson just strikes, and AJ looks like he's going to strike every time.
You wanted to direct him to the Ricky Gervais interview where he said, "I've got no time for you to lecture anybody. Thank you, God. Thank your agent, and fuck off."
Yeah, you dominated. Yes, thank you. That was as easy as it gets. I'm better. You're not. Bye-bye.
I had the absolute nuts. I'm known to strike for days, and my partner was averaging 10 pins a game more than me.
Yeah. I'm me, and someone beat me, and he was on my team. So it was a lot. So
in my era, there were so many great bowlers. To win anything, you had to be clutch. So many Hall of Famers in that era that bowled, and in the era before as well. When your ball hooked in the air at the high roller, you found a way to be clutch. Yeah, I think that in every era, there's going to be more Hall of Famers further back, because the current era can't have Hall of Famers until it's further forward. So, yeah, like I say, there was what Timmy's talking about is when we had the professional amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that era was quite interesting because there was way more times where you had short races and one game matches. So there was way more times when there was one shot that defined it. Whereas on the PBA tour, there's way less times where one shot defines your week. Like
amateur bowling is very much about every game, every 10th frame between brackets, short formats, and everything else. You have way more. Lots like the Weber Cup, where every match, every one game is a way more important than 30 pins or.
I mean, this year it was more interesting on the main tour. But for a regular person who isn't making the TV every week, if you like make the TV show at one of the tournaments in like third, and you just have a regular match on TV, you might bowl the whole week without throwing a shot that actually really matters. Like, and by really matters, I mean it had like a strike is yes and a non-strike is death. Like, I mean, you could almost go the whole season without throwing one of those shots. I mean, it'd be unlikely, but you could.
Well, that's the biggest change. When I went from bowling amateur tournaments and you had a chance to win, whatever you would say, half the weekends. But with brackets and everything, you basically bowled important shots nonstop. My first year on tour, I didn't finish higher than 10th at any point the whole year. So I didn't ever, other than to make a cut to the top 24, I didn't throw an important shot on tour for a whole year. In match play, the round robin match play thing, I threw strikes to win 30 pins a bonus. But I went a whole year without throwing it. It was weird. To go from a super high stressful environment basically every single game, where you could put a dollar number on, hey, if I double in the 10th year, that's going to, that gives me a chance to win X amount of dollars in the brackets or this much or whatever, to basically, oh, okay, I doubled. All right, I picked up 10 more pins on the cut number.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why the TV show, for me, it's like, I feel like for some of the tournaments, I'm not saying everyone, so before everybody gets on me, but I genuinely, by the way, if it's Tim Foy bowling in that bowling center in Delaware, I'm feeling real comfy.
I'm good.
Real comfy.
Jared Thompson in Memphis.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Jared Thompson, anywhere that he gives me the nod, my man strikes quite a lot, or he doesn't at all. There's no in between. Jared don't bowl 220 very often.
Yeah, this one stings a little bit, but that back half was Mike actually was always pretty good for it. He bowled a great match against Weber and got a bad beat. We've already said this. Yeah. Kretzer again. Agree. If I'd have thrown them all as good as she did, I hit my target as often as she did, I'd have a little bit.
But that's what I was about to get around to with the TV shows, though, Chris. Like, it's why sometimes some of the shows aren't as compelling as other shows, because you don't get to watch that shot where like one person wins or one person loses. Like, you don't get that, like a Mr. Beast video. They talk about like every 7 seconds he puts something in that makes you want to like continue to watch. Well, the PBA, you can go like 45 minutes without watching a shot that matters.
Yeah.
And that's,
the more I've thought about it, we just don't have a great way to do it. Is, that format that, I don't know if it was Belmo that brought it up or somebody else, but kind of a tennis type thing where you bowl 2 and 3 frame matches.
Yeah.
We've
spoken about that.
But basically every 3 to 5 minutes, you have another result oriented shot. And then you move on to another one and another one and another one, and just have enough of them that you can still have a format that the best player wins, but you get way more important shots along the way.
Yeah, I just think that it'd be interesting to experiment. And like I say, it's a shame that there aren't necessarily enough tournaments that you could have one, but I do feel like it would be, I'm 100% not suggesting we should do that, the US Open or whatever, but I don't know that it would be the end of the world if we did it at one where it was like, 3 game matches, best of 3 or something, 3 frame matches, best of 3 or something on the TV. Like, I just think, because you could then, I believe that there's a generation of people, myself included, who just love stats. Like, it can be the only reason that people watch baseball. It's not that interesting, but the stats are fantastic. Like Mookie Betts 300 when the lights are on a Thursday against right-handed pitching or whatever bullshit they come up with. And I just think it'd be fun, like, wins above replacement and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I just think those models would be great. Like, and it would be something to talk about, on the TV show, like when EJ Tackett plays Dick Allen. Because to the layman, you watch EJ be the best bowler in the world every week, but you'd have something to talk about on the show. You'd be like, Dick's TV record's way better than EJ's. Like, Dick's more comfortable in this environment or whatever. Just and then
the great irony of Walter and Pete is if you reverse their TV records against each other, Pete would have the most titles of all time.
Yeah. Because Walter beat him like a drum.
8-0, I think it is. 8 or 9-0 in title matches.
Yeah.
When you think about that, a 16 title swing.
A best ball format, race to fight. Now that would be strong. That would be great. Can you imagine how long that show would run if the lanes were easy and the guys were striking and you had to come up with a winner for each point? Talk about overruns. They'd be screaming. The director would be screaming down the line, "Get off!" You're still in the first match.
There's some mentions for Rudy, Tony Westlake, Sean Swanson. I like this one particularly. Stu on a ball review.
Captain Clutch when it doesn't matter. Hell, you guys probably you guys probably would have rather watched all of the footage I'd have filmed yesterday of throwing those balls on the US Open pattern, you sadistic bastards. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a cricket guy. I don't mind baseball. I just think it's a bit like, as a game, it's not that interesting.
The pitch clock helped.
100%.
And I think we need one in bowling too.
And the other thing that helped,
too slow for today's environment at the pace we bowl right now.
I was about to say, the other thing for me that helped was the not being able to change the pitches every single batter.
Yeah, you stop the delay, the bigger delays, which is
Somebody says you can't throw the same ball twice in a row either. On the one ball shootouts. Hardest major to win: Masters, US Open, TOC, Players, or you're missing one, the World Championships. Just wondering how that plays into clutch aspects. So here's my theory on it. I think the Masters is the easiest and the hardest to win. I think Chris will probably end up agreeing with me. Well, but I think that the Masters, for the layman, like, there's a lot of people who've won the Masters who I couldn't really imagine them winning, and not a lot strong, but there's more than a handful of players who've won the Masters. I couldn't imagine them winning any of the other majors.
Yeah.
But I think for the best players, the Masters is the hardest one, because just being the best player doesn't automatically mean you're going to be in the title match. Whereas at pretty much all the other majors, if you're the best player, you kind of only need to win one game to win, if you're the best player that week.
Yeah. Well, I think at this stage of my career, if I was to take, a look at the 5 majors, which one would I have the best chance at? The Masters is going to be the one I have the best chance at. I don't have to follow the traffic. I'm only bowling one guy. You can get into a shot maker's thing. You can move, help move the paces around a little bit. The chances of beating Belmo, Simo, EJ, and Jesper at something where there's total pins, especially the top 3 guys, it's just not very likely. Those guys don't leave you a lot of room.
And also with the Masters now has changed a little bit. Like, almost every match you bowl is on fresh now. And having the reaction on the fresh is like, you either have it or you don't, kind of thing in those matches. It feels like
it's tricky because you have to be good on the burn to make it. But once you get to the matches, it's really about the fresh.
It's a little easier now to make it though without being good on the burn because you only have 5 games on the burn.
Right.
Whereas you used to have half your games on the burn. Now it's only a third. So all of it's a little different. But yeah. Yeah, I still think obviously the US Open is one of the biggest challenges. But I think that the World Championships could be, but we just change how we do it every time, so it kind of makes it a little strange. But I think the World Championships that we bowled 2 years ago was kind of the best of the scenarios where we bowled 2 blocks a day, 2 days on each pattern. I enjoyed that because I felt like it gave me enough time on the pattern that if I had one bad block, I could still be okay in that tournament. But it also was enough games that, like, you know, if you had a bad day, you could come back and have 2 good days and kind of get back, you know, on track. Whereas in the past, when we've just had like the one day on one pattern, it kind of is like if you get off to a bad start, it's like really difficult to try and get yourself back into it.
In general, I felt like, I guess I would rate it by which one felt like it was the hardest and the biggest accomplishment in the U.S. Open before it went to the World Series Part 2.
Yeah.
I felt like that was when it was. I think I was guilty as well of one of the people thought when it was 480 people that there was a lot of people in there that maybe didn't really
belong.
have a chance. There's too many. But I think we've gone way too far the other way. And I think I underestimated how much having that field be big played into the importance or the feeling of how the accomplishment of winning that tournament. And so, yeah, if there's one thing I'd like to see with US Open is basically, I'm not saying double the field, but close to doubling the field.
I mean, from my perspective, I'll be honest with you, the US Open now is my least favorite tournament of the year.
Yeah.
Like, I think I don't like any part of it. I don't like the range. I don't like the limited balls. I don't like that we bowl a different pattern every day. I don't like that I bowl 2 blocks on one. I don't get to bowl 2 blocks on one pattern. All of those things, I think, take away from being the best bowler. Like, and I'm not saying that the best bowlers don't end up coming out on top. I'm just saying that from my skill sets and what, you know, I've used and learned over time, I don't get to use any of those skills.
Yeah, being versatile gets limited when you bowl on one pattern. When you bowl on a different pattern every day.
Yeah, everybody thinks that
dial into it.
Yeah, and also when you only bowl on that pattern once, you just don't get to learn anything and then apply it.
You're learning on the fly. You get fooled. You can't see the whole building. 3 on a pair means you don't get to walk around at all. You're always up.
So, you know, I appreciate that the USBC and the BPWA put it on. It's just out of all the majors, it's the one that I least desire to bowl. It also doesn't help that I don't bowl very well in Indy. So, I mean, I've made the top 24 a couple of times, but it's just, yeah. If I was to design a bowling center for me to have a chance, Indy wouldn't be high on the list. Now, you would be fine to say that I probably don't have much of a chance anywhere, but like Indy isn't top of my list.
The TOC honestly is probably one of the easiest because it is a small field,
and
there are a lot of guys. There's a lot of good bowlers that can't get into it.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of guys with titles that are on the, you know, not in their prime that are in that tournament. At least that's the way it was for a while. And then we went to some really short formats for a little while, which kind of played into it. Now we're back to a traditional longer one. We're back in the center that's pretty difficult. I think a lot of the, you know, more of the prestige of that tournament is back now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to phrase this the best way. Surprise, I think, is the thing. I think that in order, the World Championships and the US Open combined have had the least surprise winners. Then the next one in that would probably be the TOC and the Players. And then the Masters has the most, like, wow, that guy won. And that's not being disrespectful. It's just like you could have asked everybody in the field, and D-Ron Booker might not have even picked himself to win this year, as an example. And it, and like, so I just think over time, I think there's just been more shock winners of the Masters than the next one in like recent times. It's hard with the TOC because you had to have a title to get in, but then a couple of people have ended up winning it as their first title, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, it's just a different world we live in.
Yeah.
And, I mean, somebody puts this back up, and that's the U.S. Open that I loved, but I don't know if we can do it anymore. So to be fair to the USBC, which, that's not always everybody's agenda, but if the volumes that we used before with today's balls, technology, surfaces, etc., it just won't hold up except in a very few number of centers. And so if we're not willing to put a lot more volume on the lane, which apparently we're not, I mean, that's the only answer. There has to be enough volume. The balls won't hook for a little while.
I mean, I think the one-to-one thing is a little overplayed.
It doesn't personally have to be one-to-one, but
I mean, the Masters, the lanes generally hold up fairly well there. Now, we do only bowl 5-game blocks, but we do sometimes play 5 on a pair. And the US Open previously was 6-game blocks, right? I think most of the times I bowled at Carolina, it was 18 games qualifying, not 24. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, because we had such big fields. I don't know if we did 8-game blocks or not. All of those.
I only remember it being 6-game blocks. And you only had the one burn block in the years that I'd bowled. It was like fresh.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, we bowled all 3 a bunch of times, and then we had the gag squad, and then you had the round robin after it. So
yeah, the few times that I bowled at Carolina, it was fresh, burn fresh, and then the as you so eloquently termed it, the gag squad was 8 games.
That's what the old birds told me when I came on there. I went, gag squad, this is when I beat you guys.
Yeah. And then it was the 24-game round robin.
Yeah.
Which ironically was 8 games. Dino's saying it was 8 games in Carolina. I don't remember it that way, but okay, if you say so.
Alan says, can we have a most likely to be a real life Roy Munson show? Huh. I had somewhere to go with that, and I don't remember what it was, but we have a few guys that are probably in line. Might be JR after last week. So.
Oh, God.
The Masters is the most fan-friendly format to follow. Enjoy how the lanes usually play different than PBA patterns, too. Different guy does it, different theory. There may be more of that even on tour this year. We'll see. But I generally agree that even as a pro, if I don't make the finals, I'll tune back in to watch matches, especially a best-of-7 match between 2 guys. And then almost inevitably, somebody, a Jake Peters is taking on EJ. And Jake has a fantastic set and takes EJ to the limit, and upsets are part of what America loves about sports and the world loves about sports. And so the best players don't always love those formats, but I do think they're much more entertaining.
I'm not going to use the phrase, I don't want to be that guy, but I do want to be that guy. So Just a second. There we go. Uh-huh. Add to screen. Dino, you're going old because right there is the 2008 US Open in Carolina. And look, it's 18 games qualifying done, not 24. So I understand, but it wasn't 56 games that year. So anyway. Nope. It would have been a weird way to get to 56. And Beef is that guy. Yes, he is. But anyway, that was you and Norm. That was the first year that me and Dom bowled, I think, or maybe it was the year before me and Dom bowled. Yeah, I think it was the year before me and Dom bowled. But yeah, that was the year that Dino told Dom he couldn't have. The year after was the year that Dino told Dom he couldn't have a ride, and it upset him. That was a ball. What was the ball, Dino? I forget what the ball was. I think it was the ride. No, it wasn't the ride. It was black and green, but Dom was winning and he wouldn't let him have one. There it is, the raid. I knew Dino would remember. Dom reminds him about it all the time. He's always just like, "Are you sure I can have this one? We only have 3 left. Are you sure?"
He was actually doing Dom a favor, and Dom didn't realize it.
So. I don't know. Dom was doing pretty well with that ball. Like I say, he was in 3rd or something. But yeah. Brian, do not question Stu. He has all the receipts. Yeah, I was starting to get a little worried about that one. I didn't think I was going to be able to find a receipt, but good old Bowling Digital was there for me still. Site's been shut for about 8 years. Yeah, Don was in 4th. I'm 4th at the US Open. Don't give me a fucking ball.
Clutching the PBA 50 right now. You'd have a hard time arguing against JJ. And Hess has actually been really good too.
Yeah. Mika just makes every show.
Mika makes every show. Nolan actually, for his fewer opportunities, was really good for the money. So he just doesn't make every show like JJ and Tommy did.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, when Tommy won, it was, I believe, it was longer. It was longer, I believe, when I did too. Somebody put up, when Andrew Koff,
it was
led a squad. Farrell led a squad a little bit later on.
It wasn't. The year Tommy won, I think you bowled 9 games in the Cashers round for a 51 game pinfall total.
6, 6, 6, 9,
and then 24.
Weird.
So, Ryan Schaefer was the number 1 seed. You were 6th. Missed the show by like 50.
Me?
So, yeah. And did you win the year after, Tommy?
Which was, I think I won in 2004.
Oh, they didn't go back that far. He's only got 05, 06 as the first season that's still on here.
2005 or 6, I had to double in the 10th to knock O'Neill out of the show, and I rung 10 on that.
This was Smith, Fagan, and Schaefer made it with Tommy that year. And then, anyway,
Robert Smith did. You said
Robert Smith made it.
Yeah, underrated. He didn't always just make it when the gutter hooked.
No. I mean, didn't he win a U.S. Open, or did he runner up?
No, when he was 19, he pulled Norm for it back before it was on dirt.
Yeah. It was a high score in U.S. Open, right?
Yeah. There's several that were before then. 94 or 5, I believe. 94, I believe, out in California, like Cal Bowl or something like that.
Yeah, and then even the year that Weber won, beating Malott in the final, that was 51 games as well. I don't think it was ever 56 in the recent, like, in that period.
Went 6 game squad probably couldn't get the lanes to hold up all day even back then.
Well,
So it's just start. It was
yeah, they might not have been able to get enough games in. Like 3 8-game blocks in a day isn't that easy either.
No, it got slower for sure. 2000 ITers.
If I recall correctly.
Oh. Yeah, AC Delco, he led, and then Duke beat him in the final. But he bowled really good. Obviously, that was his. Jowdy predicted he was going to be dominant, and then that was his coming out party. And then he didn't turn pro for another 6 years after that, I don't think. 4 years after that. Yeah.
He saved all the money.
Yeah. Yep. So, well.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah. Trip. We didn't go full Skip Bayless. We didn't use the clutch gene. We didn't besmirch many people. But one thing I will say is Skip Bayless had a bad weekend because he's an Oklahoma fan and he's a Cowboy fan. So suck it, Skip Bayless. So this weekend, Chris.
Stephen A. Smith fan?
Huh?
I mean, you're a Stephen A. Smith fan?
No, not really. I'm a Mad Dog Russo fan. I like Mad Dog. But Screaming A. Smith, no, he doesn't do it for me.
No, not at all. I'm a Dan Patrick guy. I kind of like. I like listening to it.
I like Bill Belichick now a lot when he's on stuff because he's so bitchy. It's great. He is getting. He said last night. He goes, I'm not really shocked by this from about them sacking Robert Saleh. He goes, their owner's awful. They've won 30% of their games in the last 10 years.
Where was that?
On the Manning cast, he's on the first half of the Manning cast every week.
Right.
And he literally said out loud, he goes, the ownership of the Jets is awful. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought Robert won as well. Richie's saying that Robert won I'm pretty sure he did win in Phoenix. For the US
that
Open.
was Phoenix. Yeah, that was 94 was the AC Delco. That was the US Open.
But the US Open was what he did win.
Yeah, that one in Phoenix. I remember from the one in Phoenix, I bowled on the wrong squad. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He had on 1 and 2, and I got C squad game 8 on lane 1 and 2. Got to bowl from the tile. The nice little 5-inch drop off.
You were was that in Christown?
Probably.
Yeah, well, you were right. You were right next to all the junkies as well on that side of the bowl.
Yeah, it wasn't a great part of town even then.
So, it still isn't.
They don't normally get better. Yeah.
Well, the problem is the light rail runs right past it, and nothing good happens by the light rail in any city anywhere. It's like if you're walking downtown and the street's named after a president, you're probably in the wrong part of town. Not too many good things happen on Washington. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun. We bullshitted for a while. Let us know what you would like to chat about. I'll save it for Thursday, but I actually have the new I've knocked a lot of shit on the floor. I've got the new 3G Soul case that I've been telling Chris about.
Showed up yesterday.
Huh?
It showed up yesterday.
Okay. It's cool, isn't it?
It took me about 2 minutes to put it all in there. Like, this is absolutely way better than putting them in a Ziploc bag.
Exactly. And they don't rub together and get like shitty because basically it has Velcro in the middle. So you just slap your soul on it. And the cool
put a
thing
little
is
YouTube video together for it.
You can put a heel top and bottom as well. So it's kind of a cool accessory. I think some of the time bowling has a lot of bullshit, like accessory wise. This is actually a pretty useful thing. It's not quite as groundbreaking as when chamois came out, because I remember doing the demos with them and going, holy shit, these are amazing. I'm like, I literally went from not using a towel to always having one, and this is cool.
It's not the greatest thing since sliced tape, but
but
magic of the day. There we go.
All right.
Well,
look at this.
For next Thursday, I will. Ironically, I think I carry a lot of stuff. I have an open page still in that book. I
don't.
Yeah, for the people of Dan's age, it looks like a CD case. So
this is my second one.
You have more than I do. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So, yeah, I will not be here Thursday. Getting that done. And so Stu will be on his own again. So it'll become F Barnzy 2024 again. And apparently that is the motto when I'm gone. And so between now and then, though, hey, please support the sponsors that support us. Easy for someone else to say. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowler's Mark, Firelight Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later, guys. Thank you.